Hey guys, good afternoon. This is Alex from All Styles Production. I had a few people ask me, how do I get these beautiful waterfall pictures that I take? It's really not that hard. So I'm gonna go over a few things for you. This here is up in Watkins Glen, kind of actually Montour Falls, just up from Havana Glen a little bit. Alright, so I started out by taking a photo of this falls in just full automatic mode. Then I did automatic mode with an ND filter, and if you look at the bottom you can see my settings, well, the settings that the camera did. So you'll see the difference between this. I'm going to go ahead and take the ND filter off. Now, if you don't know what an ND filter is, it's basically sunglasses for your camera. So I will show you this. You can see it's super dark. So that's what that changed to. Now the auto settings changed to 160. Yeah, really on automatic mode, you're not going to get a good shot. And I'll go ahead and hit it again. Alright, so basically what you need is a camera that you can put into full manual mode. So if you look at the top of your camera like this, you see where it says M. This is actually a Sony A7R4. This is actually a professional mirrorless camera, but any DSLR type or mirrorless camera will work, or even a point and shoot that has manual setting. So you want to put your camera into manual. We'll do that for you. Alright, so what this allows you to do is you have control over all the settings. Okay? So now on the back of the camera, sorry about this. Now if you look here, it says that's 1/100th is your shutter. F14 is my f-stop. And then auto ISO. None of that's going to work for this situation. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put our ISO on the lowest possible. So this camera, the lowest is 50. Most cameras, the lowest is 100. Like on a Rebel T3i or a 7 or some Nikons, most of the time it's 100. But I'm going to go with 50 right now. Okay, so now you'll see my screen is super dark. So now I'm gonna have to put the ND filter on, and then it's even gonna get darker. So let's do that. And the ND filter basically just screws on the front of your lens. You got to figure out what your filter thread size is. Mine is 77. This is a old Minolta lens I adapted to my camera. It's an 80 millimeter to 200 millimeter f2.8. Alright, so let's get a little video of that. So that's what it looks like. Alright, now you can see my screen is super dark. Now this is a mirrorless camera, so basically what I see on the screen is what the picture is going to look like. You can do a similar thing with DSLR if you have live view. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my aperture at its widest to 2.8. Ideally for a waterfall like this, you're going to want to be somewhere in the 20-second shutter. Alright, so now if you look at my shutter speed is at 1/100th. I'm just going to keep going down and down and down for this. Now you can see it's starting to give me some light here. Now, if I get to 20 seconds, now it's way too bright. So the next thing to do would be take my aperture and slowly bring my aperture up until I get a good shot of what I think I want. That looks pretty good. Alright, so what we're going to do now, we're going to give it a focus. Now if your camera has struggles with autofocus, you can put this in manual focus and set it up that way, but this camera is one of the best focusing cameras around, so I don't have to worry about it. So I am now, here's another point. I'm going to go ahead and hit the shutter and you'll see what happens. It's a 20-second shutter. So basically that shutter is going to stay open for 20 seconds. Do not move. Do not shake. Do not do anything. Because any movement is going to cause blurry rocks and other scenery around. You can see this thing takes forever. Okay, so that's not too bad. If you look at that, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you the photo. So the other thing is to stop camera shake. You can go into your menu and go to drive mode. You should have, this is like a selfie timer. This is a 5-second timer. So now what's good about this, and I use this a lot on astrophotography, if you hit the shutter button, it doesn't shutter. It waits 5 seconds. So then you don't have that camera shake from your hand when you press the button. If you don't have a good steady tripod like this, which most people don't, but if you do, the steadier, the better. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and bring my aperture down a little, get a little bit brighter shot. We'll recompose this a little bit. All right, so now we are going to hit the shutter. Now if you watch, the camera is going to wait 5 seconds before it goes. So now it's absolutely perfectly still, and there it went. So that's still a 20-second shutter. Sorry about the shakiness here. I'm in a really tight spot next to this stream. All right, so that shot I will show you on the big screen. It's a little bland on the back of my camera, but that's just the way I got my settings because I'm shooting in RAW, which is probably a good idea if you have an editing software to go ahead and shoot in RAW so that you can bring up the colors and the sharpness a little bit. If you're wondering where I'm at, I'm like next to the side of the creek with a precarious setup for my tripod, so that's why I'm having to handheld this camera. So basically, now if you wanted to zoom in, let's say we wanted to get just the big falls up there. Okay. Again, you got to focus. So if you're doing manual focus, get a good focus. Probably going to open up the aperture a little, get a little more brightness. We'll focus, and again, we have the 5-second delay. So you can see the delay there on the screen. And then it goes black. That means the shutter is open. And now 20 seconds later, we will see what kind of shot we have. Ideally, I'd rather be in the water for this, but wasn't too keen on getting the tripod all wet. Okay, that looks like a nice milky shot. So depending on how silky and milky looking you want the water, you can actually speed up your shutter to get a little bit of a change. That was set at 20-second shutter speed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust the shutter down to a little bit faster, maybe 8-second, which means I'm going to have to open the aperture up, get a little more light. Okay, so again, we're going to do, right now we're at a 6-second shutter, f2.8 at ISO 50. And there's our, you can see our little red light flashing there. That's our selfie timer light. And there we go for an 8-second exposure. Ooh, that looks pretty. I'm not too keen on that close-up look, but I'll back that off. So again, if you have an optical viewfinder, the only difference is going to be you're just going to have to take the picture and then check it out. Check your exposure after the fact. Let's try another one. This is actually a 6-second exposure at f2.8. And that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and recompose that and just zoom in on this lower falls here. I like to shoot wide because you could always crop it in post. Obviously this camera is 62 megapixels, so I can crop all the way to that little leaf over there, but most cameras you can crop in quite a bit. Alright, we're going to check our focus and we're going to give this another shot. There goes our timer. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Another tip is, if you notice too, I am in autofocus mode A. So you want to be either in single shutter or A. If I was in continuous, basically that short time between focusing, because the water's moving, if your camera is a little flaky with focus, it could move on you. So that's why you do the single shot, you know. So if you look at my little green boxes, it's focused right on that water there, and I can actually hold the button in. I use back button focus. Most cameras, or most folks, use the shutter button for your focus, which is you press it halfway down, it focuses, and then press the rest of the way for your final focus. So there you go. That is my quick tips and tricks on how to get beautiful waterfall shots. I will right after I'm done speaking here, I'll go through and give you some photos of some other waterfalls that I shot using this same gear here, same lens, same camera, same ND filter. So good luck out there, and you don't need to have a big fancy lens, an f2.8 lens or anything like that, because as long as you can get your shutter to open long enough, even an f4 or a f5.6 kit lens will work with an ND filter as long as you're in manual mode and you got a steady tripod. A lot of these tips also work if you're doing astrophotography. Same idea. Most folks do use manual focus for astro only because there's nothing up there to focus on. So you usually put it on infinity focus, and then you do a very long shutter speed, or some people use a bulb shutter, which will keep the shutter open as long as you hold the button down. But in that case, I would say either use a wireless or a remote wired trigger for your camera, so you're not shaking the camera. Alright, so I will leave you with some photos of some other falls I took using the same procedure. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. In the comments below, if you want to leave some questions and maybe another video you would like me to make on a different style of shooting, portraits, weddings, leave me a comment down below. Zoo photography, I've done it all, so racing, motorcycles, sports cars, whatever you want. If there's a particular thing you're having trouble with,